It is the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey Podcast, episode number 2. Had a good reception for last week's kind of intro episode, and got to jump into some good stuff this week because it is summertime. A lot of teams doing their equipment sales, and myself and my guest tonight, Wade Hampton, went and visited the Blues sale yesterday.
Yes, we did.
It was an interesting experience, to say the least. As we are in the Midwest in the middle of summer, 105 last week, 105, 110 heat indexes. I would have been wanting to stand outside for any length of time in front of the Enterprise Center. But we lucked out at 2 o'clock yesterday morning. Rain started in St. Louis, and by the time it was done, they had a foot of rain. Yes, a foot of rain.
What? What did you say?
We were lucky. I met Wade on the way down. I live in Springfield, Illinois, so I'm 2 hours north of St. Louis. Met him on the way down, and then drove the rest of the way in. But between us and Enterprise Center, clear, no issue.
Sailing. Yeah, a lot of people unfortunately had a lot of flooding and some issues getting in there, and I know we were kind of planning on being wet and sitting outside for a few hours in the rain, and we definitely got lucky with some cooler conditions and
a few sprinkles, and it stayed away from us, and it was. I'll sit outside anytime with a nice breeze and 72 on asphalt compared to 105.
Absolutely.
But we got down to Enterprise Center just about noon. As we're pulling into their parking garage, we see one guy standing by the door, and it's another collector that we know. He'd only been there since 11. Mm-hmm. And that's part of this is, and we're not the only ones that do that. I've seen the posts from the Red Wings, the Sharks, the different groups that people talk about their game worn sales like this. Is the what time are we getting there? And in some cases, I swear it had been 12 to 18 hours before in some very interesting situations. And feel free, once you see this video, in the comments, please put how long you stood in line for some of these before. Because even in our cases, we, I believe it was 2019, we got out there at 1:30 in the morning and it opened about 9 a.m.
So it was a 9 or 9:30 opening.
Yeah, and being in downtown St. Louis at that time of the night / morning is quite eye-opening for sure.
Yeah.
One of our friends brought an inflatable air mattress. He was the first one in line, so he napped half the time. So he was quite refreshed by the time it was time to go in and buy his stuff.
Yeah, that was the year it was in the Stiefel Theater. There was a lot of steps, and that was a weird year because once you went past certain things, it was really hard to get back to them. Because after winning the cup, there was probably 400 or 500 people out there before it opened, even if you remember correctly.
Yeah, that was
a madhouse.
That was right after the year they won the cups, and they were redoing. Had just said they were going to be redoing the Enterprise Center. So Stiefel Theater, which the Blues also own, is a theater they have comedians in. They do shows in, things like that. It's a more of an auditorium style that's attached to the Enterprise Center. So they did it in there, and you had to go up grand staircase. It was very messy and weird, but that was
survived.
Yes, $500. Get this: $500 for Stanley Cup street banners, $75 for game worn jerseys. So
correct.
But we definitely missed those days. So fast forwarding to this year, and we'll get into 2020 here in a few minutes because that was interesting one was as well. So so this one, the Blues announced last week, say it was going to happen Tuesday for season ticket holders, Wednesday for general public. Gates open at 4:30, 4 to I think 8 o'clock. So again, we get down there at noon, expecting crappy weather, actually get to enjoy it. The line built very slowly. In years past, I mean, even in this case, with 4 to 5 hours to go, you were probably 50 or 100 people deep. It took us till 3 to get 50 people. But I think a lot of it had to do with it being a Tuesday. It's the first time the Blues have ever done an early week uh, event like this. Usually Friday, Saturday,
Sure.
or a Saturday only kind of thing.
I think there was a lot of anticipation, not to go back to it, but the cup year, there was a lot of anticipation for the stuff because it was the cup year. I think this year, last year they did it with no season ticket break. It was just free for all, anyone. This year they went back to the season ticket holder for the first day. And I think that really limited the amount of people that were coming out, being a weekday, being during the afternoon,
And
having a rainstorm.
having a foot of rain, because a lot of people we talked to that expected to come were cleaning out basements, or
Sure.
in a few cases
Couldn't get out of the house.
Yeah, couldn't get to us because they were flooded all around them. They were fine up on a hill, but all the roads were out.
Mhm.
And I will say I reached out to Paul Rank. I'd hoping to have him on because he has every year does extensive coverage of the San Jose Shark Sale. Always has a lot of pictures before. Does a phenomenal job documenting it all. He had just gotten back from London at 1:30 this morning, so yeah, he's very, very tired. So he said he didn't even know what time it was when I was messaging him earlier today. So we'll catch up with Paul here soon in another episode on some other things. But and if you guys have been to these sales, put comments on the video and tell us what you what things you've seen at yours, or what you enjoy about it. If it's the being outside with everybody, if it's the what am I gonna find, or what deals am I gonna get. So to kind of break the Blues sale down a little bit is again, season ticket holders yesterday, as we're in line, we brought chairs, brought some drinks, snacks, whatever, just to chill out and enjoy. And I think people were reaching out to say, hey, I'm coming. If you need food, I'm going to stop by this place. And people brought lunch for whoever asked for it, that kind of. So again, it's fun because we're hanging out with friends of ours or collectors that we don't see often. Even though you live close to St. Louis, I'm 2 hours away. Unless we're at the same game or things like that, we don't see each other often, or see some other guys that were there. And we could talk online all the time or in the collecting groups, but when you do it in person, it's so much more fun.
Yeah, it's neat to be able to sit and, like we did, 2 days, we sat and, you talk about trades, you talk about collections, you talk about everything that goes into the hobby, but you also talk about friendship and families and things like that. And,
Sure.
we all have this like-minded hobby that we all enjoy. And you get to make friends, and the relationships you can build with a lot of these people are amazing. And the friendships you build, you and I are friends through this hobby.
Right.
And, those are, I think a lot of times as we get older and as our lives change, those become important relationships, and they're fun. It's fun to have, sometimes your regular friends don't get your collecting habits.
No, they sure don't.
It's crazy to them, that you have all this stuff. And it's always fun to connect to people who do understand your madness.
Right. And it doesn't have to be of okay, you and I collect blue stuff. If it's somebody that does the Islanders or whatever, it doesn't matter what team it is. It's the understanding of we're trying to collect our favorite player, our favorite team, whatever it is. And it's just those kind of connections, and going to some of the your expo that you had last October, another one coming up this October.
Yep.
A handful of years ago, I went to the expo done in Chicago, met guys from England, from Germany. I got to meet Paul Rank and his wife.
Yeah.
And guys, I mean, just all over the place that
I
I've
did
talked to.
Francis Radney's Nova
Yes.
this past year, and I had a blast. I mean, honestly, I had more fun at the dinners and at the trade rooms and things like that. It was a lot of guys that I've known for years in the hobby,
Mhm.
new names, knew their face, but to actually sit down and, have those conversations in person and get to know them is really fun. I mean, it's neat. It's a neat hobby.
And I grew up. I'm not older, but grew up before Facebook and all that, and when the old forum was up, and some of the guys the collectors there that I used to talk to and made deals with years ago, now still talking to them through Facebook and have
Yeah.
known those people for 20 years,
20
but
year
have
friendships.
never
Crazy.
seen their face other than
Only knew
in
their
pictures.
tag.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So as again, it's one of those pieces, and you and I both came into the sale this year with no wants.
no.
We were looking. I had a one of my friends. He's like, of course they would pick the week that I'm on a cruise to do the sale. Sent me a list of a few things. A couple other
Sure.
people. Well, friend in California, hey, could you look for some this type of gloves or this helmet, or my kid needs pants. So I had a list, but there was absolutely nothing for once, and I think it is a record that I needed.
Yeah, I went into it this year and kind of pre-knowing that they weren't really going to have jerseys, which is the primary focus of my collection. And having that understanding, maybe hoping they were going to surprise us with a rack of jerseys.
Sure.
They didn't. But I went into it more again, like what we were just talking about. I went into it knowing I was going to spend 4 or 5 hours sitting out there with you guys, not because I was awaiting anything, but simply because I was anticipating the fun of chatting and being with my friends, and maybe meeting a couple people that have seen us in the blues group and said, "Oh, well, that's you! Wow!"
Yep, putting the names with the
making
faces.
connections. Yeah,
Somebody
so,
walked up with a shirt that was made from a joke in one of the Facebook pages, and I'm like, I know who made that shirt.
yeah,
And then we linked up. Oh yeah, I'm from over here, and they'd seen my name because I've been in that page.
yeah.
And it's just making those connections, and it's so much fun because then you can go forward and talk to them more than you had before.
Somebody I didn't actually get to talk to, and I saw that I didn't even see him, or I would have said hello, but a fellow group member had sent me a message today, and he's like, "Oh, I saw you at the sale, but I didn't want to bother you." I'm like, "No, that's what you're supposed to do. Please come over and bother me." He's like, "Well, you were way in the front of the line." I said, "Yeah, but come over and say hello." That's one of the things that I love most about
Right.
this.
It's
You know?
hey, I've seen you post this stuff, or I've talked to you
Yeah.
on here. It's putting those names with the faces, and then you get to talk. Oh well, hell, what jerseys you picked up lately, or
Yeah.
what have you done with this, or here's how I'm showing my stuff off. It's like pulling out pictures of. Let me show you my kids.
Absolutely.
But it's all the jerseys you got on the phone.
And then the other fun thing was, something we talked about previously and have talked about is hey, what are you looking for at the event? Let me go, hey, I'll grab that for you if I see it real quick.
Right. One of my friends was prepping to have surgery, a minor surgery today. Said, "Hey, can you look out for a Bennington stick?" Yep, no problem. You
Absolutely.
definitely can't be here. I'll see what I can do. And it's like, and I told everybody up front, I'm like, we don't know what's going to be in here. I will do the best I can. Don't send me any money until I actually have
So
stuff.
yeah.
I don't want to have to mess with all that. It's like, I'll take care of it if I can. I'll do everything. Do the best I can with it.
Picked up a practice jersey for a friend that I threw in the mail today. That was one of the requests. Unfortunately, some of the other requests weren't really available. As we've kind of like, there were no nameplates, and a few people wanted locker room nameplates, and they weren't there, and a couple other things that I wasn't able to find this time. But yet, still, it was I still walked out of there with 2 bags full of apparel and had a good time. So it's always worth the trip.
And when the Blues put out their press release and announced the dates and that, they said for so again, season ticket holders on Tuesday, it will be, again, they list sticks and practice jerseys and skates. I think they said a couple other things. So we have a general idea, and again, we've been to enough of these now, kind of what to expect.
Yeah.
Where we're waiting to get into the building, all the sales held in the concourse, first level concourse of the Enterprise Center there. Can't see any of the stuff. You and one of the other guys actually walked around the backside of Enterprise, found a little window you could look through and kind of see some stuff. Because it's all fun just to do some ahead of what the layout is and that. But yeah, they hit it really good.
Yeah, then they threw us the super speed video.
Yeah, about 2.5 hours before, several people messaged me, and then we all found it. Is the Blues had put out a video at the beginning of the concourse. All the game worn stuff was first. All their general apparel was after that. But it's like somebody took the camera and just ran through the whole thing. I think the video was 12 seconds long. I mean, it was I swear
that it was start to finish for the lane.
Right. And it's a long walk, but they just hauled through it. So as I'm looking through this, I'm chatting with one of my friends on Facebook Messenger. I said, "Yeah, now we're pausing the video trying to kind of break this down," and they're like, "It's like this Zapruder film." So we're trying to just go frame by frame because it started with the goalie sticks, and then you could see player sticks, and they had giant signs in each area with the price on them, so you could. But they had run past so quick, if you had to catch it just right in the segment
Frame.
to see if you could get the price. And some of them we were able to see the goalie sticks in that, and some were just enough off. So that was fun. I think we spent like a half hour breaking the video down. I mean, I don't think they've done that with the NFL or some other stuff, to spend that much time breaking down something like that. So we went through that and kind of developed our
game plans.
yes, because everybody, as we're standing in line talking, hey, what are you looking for? I'm looking for this. If you're over here first, you can grab me this thing if you see one. It's a lot of, we're not always after the same stuff. Let's help each other out and make it easy. And that again makes it fun too, is sometimes you're gonna grab, okay, if I need a goalie stick, you need one, you grab that, I'll head over here. But it's fun scheming to kind of make those plans, and the video kind of helps. So as we get to the countdown, the enterprise staff comes outside, checks everybody's season ticket holder cards, says we're going to open the doors at 4:30. We get down to that. We do have to go through metal detectors. So everybody had keys out. Well, I don't know that they actually had it on, but you were having to go through one.
And they took everyone's bags away, which was new. For
that was an interesting one too, because in years past, because when you're buying a large amount of shirts or carrying several pairs of gloves or whatever, it's hard to hang on to that. And normally people bring, because IKEA's right near there, have the big IKEA bags. They said no bags this time, but I said because I didn't have a large volume of security.
Yeah,
fine. You know what, your thing, I get it. I didn't take any issue with that. Whatever, no problem. So we get just let inside the concourse there. You still can't see any of the stuff because it's way on basically on the back side of the building. They count us down, and we all walk fast.
gingerly walk.
Yes. Finally get down around there, and a handful of Bennington sticks, probably 15 or 20 Huso sticks, and then random guys from Springfield or guys that tried out, or just rando goalie sticks.
Sure.
Got into the player sticks. Both the player sticks and the goalie sticks, I think, were 150 a piece. Yeah. Not, I will say, because I buy sticks to play with stuff too, that's not a bad price, especially if you're getting ones that show little to no use, because I don't have a hard shot when I play, so I'm not breaking a stick. On the right of that, they had a area out near where you would get food if the games were being played, with carpet and chairs to try on skates. Those were $250.
Good number of skates too.
Good volume of both player and goalie skates there. There was even a pair of Tarasenko ones that the blades and stuff hadn't even been mounted on. It's just the boots. Had those there. Then the table back across the way had player gloves. They started at $150 for certain players and then jumped to $250. Had a lot of, even some of the guys, both Perron, which I know he's still popular, but of course he's in Detroit, along with Oscar Sundqvist. They had a lot of those gloves at $250. My problem with pricing like that is, like, you know what? If I know they just left, but they're gone.
Yeah.
Those should be, former roster players should be a lower amount compared to current.
You'd like to see I'd like to, if it was in a perfect world for me, I would have liked to have seen the non-labeled ones for $100. Your former players, 150, and then $250 for, your current roster guys or guys that are still here. Again, it seemed like prices were fair in some regards, and other ones were a little scratch your head, a little bit more than we'd seen in the past. I know, like, the only jerseys they had this year were practice jerseys for $75 a jersey.
And those Adidas ones, those are still popular.
Sure.
In a lot of the different groups, they sell 125, 150. So 75, I'm very, very comfortable.
Absolutely. It was just kind of funny, going back to last year's, the year before's, when they had the 700, jersey room, and those were how much?
We'll do a little side note here. In 2020, the Blues did their equipment sale online. So it was 3 days. They just posted equipment throughout the 3 days, bought it online, and then either they shipped it or picked it up. But then they also announced they would do their merchandise sale and game-worn jersey sale. They had 700 game-worn jerseys.
What? What did you say?
700 game worn jerseys.
All the way back to 2000.
Yes, and no season ticket holder thing. Anybody could come in at that time and do it, and for the low price of $100 for didn't matter who it was. There were the Ryan Reeves, the Blues, the old style third jersey, the Arch third. Ryan Reeves in there.
They had about 10 of those. You had some really big name players. I mean, a lot of former goalies, and goalie jerseys are always popular.
Chris Osgood was in there.
A lot of Brent Johnsons. I mean, guys that were Conklin, and there were some good name Blues goalies, and then you could throw in stuff. Craig Conroy's were in there. People found Scott Youngs. I mean, there's guys that were pretty top tier players that were in that 700 jersey frame. So again, going back, going off that topic and going back, the 75 for the Adidas practice jersey, it's a fair price for it. They just, the year before that, they definitely opened up the floodgates for some deals.
Yes, they did. And it's, and every year is different with them, as you do. And we're disappointed because the quality of things wasn't a lot there. There wasn't a lot of sticks. And I will say, I did, one of my friends posted, he was there tonight with his family. I messaged him saying, hey, what was there? He saw one Husso goalie stick. In the picture he posted, there was a couple blank helmets on the table. They threw a few more things out today, but overall, talking to anybody that's actually looking for gear or the collectibles like that, the game worn stuff, it was disappointing.
The people that do the event do a fantastic job. I really do think that they do a great job of making sure that they put out as much stuff as they, I'm assuming, have available to them. So there's no complaints there by any means. Too. What's that?
What the equipment guys give them.
There's
some of that is
everybody's got their hands tied by somebody else probably, and I think they do a fantastic job of providing a fun event for us. And the Blues always seem to be class acts when it comes to that.
But they were right on the floor, kind of keeping an eye on things. We stopped, talked to them, checked in, said, hey, thanks for putting this on. We always enjoy coming. And again, as we wandered through it, I say helmets, I think, were the last. Oh, goalie stuff too. They did had about 4 sets. Husso's pads were 500. Bennington's were 650. Goalie gloves were 250. None of that, especially with a lot of those guys buy the goalie pad stuff to use them. Those prices are all super fair.
Yeah.
I didn't see, again, as somebody that also plays goalie, if those pads fit me, I would be happy to pay that price.
The apparel prices were good. I mean, it's crazy to think that they still had some of that stuff going back to the first Winter Classic. And then some of the player shirts, the Yaskin shirts, and some of the guys that they had were
Robbie Fabry.
But they were $1. I mean, at the end of the day, that's a fantastic deal.
I grabbed some of that stuff. Petrangelo. It's like, you know what? I don't care. I liked them when they were here. They were $1 or $5. I'm happy to have more.
I walked out of there with, like what we were talking about. I walked out of there with, not the same stuff as my game use collection, but I walked out of there with 2 bags of apparel and stuff that I'll wear to games and some stuff to give to friends and family. And
sure,
I had a blast. It's always a great event.
And it's funny to go through too, because a lot of people get excited when the Blues or any of their whatever their team is does the giveaway stuff, or it's the hoodies or the type of some kind of mystery jerseys, bobbleheads. They had David Backus bobbleheads still. I'm like, that's 5-6 years ago. But again, they're $2, $5. Nothing.
Mystery pucks, I think, were $25. People eat those up.
Every team I know.
You pop those things. You can pop that open and get a Ryan O'Reilly or a Tarasenko or a Bennington or somebody that maybe has a Fanatics contract and doesn't do as many local signings anymore. You can get some really cool autographs on some great bucks.
Sure, and like I said, it was it was extremely light on the game use side, and I'd hope to see some more stuff, because things like they had piles of pants and socks and the team bags, even the toiletry bags and stuff. Those the players seem to go through, but like you said earlier, the locker room nameplates. They have piles of those because we've not seen them in a few years. I don't believe.
That's the stuff that I think really makes it fun, because so many people collect that stuff. And it's such eclectically fun stuff for collectors too.
Sure.
And like you know, like we talked about, and I always get a kick out of it. It's kind of went away over the last few years. I used to love when you'd see the families there, for their teenage kids looking for sticks and skates.
Yep.
And, before when they used to put out elbow pads and shoulder pads and stuff like that. To me, that's part of the fun of it too, was watching these families, gear up their kids for hockey season.
As somebody that plays both goalie and forward, it's an expensive hobby to get into, especially
Absolutely.
with growing kids. I mean, I'm lucky; I'm only growing in the stomach area, so it's not as big a deal. But you have kids that go through sizes of skates maybe twice a season, depending on how
Yeah,
they're growing. And if you can get pro stock skates for $250, even if it only gets you a season,
you're
it's a heck of
saving
a lot.
500 bucks.
Yeah, yeah, you're going to spend $800 $1,000 on some of those models of skates.
Pretty cool. It's a fun event. And again, for us, the camaraderie of it, the fact that we get to spend time with our friends is fantastic. And I think the Blues are doing a neat event that I'm glad they continue to do it.
Sure, and I mean just the people hauling out the amount of shirts and things and again I spent $60 and got a nice polo, a bunch of nice t-shirts
Yeah,
that I just spent 500 if I was buying them at the time
absolutely.
they were being sold. I did find a handful of these. I was shocked they were were in a box underneath one of the clothing racks. I'd seen them being sold in the store, and they at the time they wanted $30, but they're jersey mounts. It's a long pole. Was made by a company called it's sportsdisplays.com, sports-displays.com. The website doesn't even exist anymore. So I don't know how many years they've had these, but it's a nice big like heavy duty plastic clip, comes with a couple screws, and then I know the probably video is not showing it great, but a long rod that you'll put the jersey through and then locks it into that clip on the
Pop it up
wall.
on the
So
wall.
I picked up a dozen of them.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
for $1 a piece. They don't work out well, so what?
yeah. You lost nothing.
So it was one of those oddball things, but like, you know what? It'll go right well with attempt to use it with the jersey, see what I can
I got a nice Jake Allen snuggie. I mean,
Oh,
I
yep,
couldn't be
I brought
more
home a
happy.
couple of those. Um, keep you warm in the wintertime. Don't need them right now, but as you guys listening to this, if you've gone to these equipment sales, what are tell us again how long you stood out in line before, or weird things that you found. I know in a few cases I've seen people shared online if they want them. One found they got a hoodie, open up the pocket, and the player's mouth guard was in the pocket. They've gotten somebody bought, I can't remember who it was, bought it was goalie pads, and when they pants, when they got the pants, the goalie's whole goalie cup setup was inside it. Just, I mean, weird stuff like that. I know in some cases too, at some of these sales, I don't. It could have even been the Sharks one year. They started putting those tracking tags in the neck,
Yeah,
players on the ice to track that. And in a few cases, people bought jerseys and those tracking tags are still in it.
I'd love to have one of those. Actually, oddly, just to say I have one in my collection.
Right. Maybe I'll have to see if we can sweet talk the Blues into leaving some in at one point. But it's just those kind of stuff. And I'll before we wrap up here, tell a quick story from this is probably 6-7 years ago. The Blues used to sell a lot of their game worn stuff out of the store. You could go in random times, find some helmets, gloves. I bought a few jerseys that way. But one year they did a big closet clean out, had all kinds of just rando gloves and whatever. And with living far away, I'd made friends with the people that worked there, and they'd email say, "Hey, we added a bunch of new stuff. It's buy one get one free right now." And I'm like, "Yeah, what do you got? Anything interesting?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's a pair of gloves here, Easton gloves. They just have tape wrapped around them, and Korea's written on the tape." I'm like, "Okay, I'll take those. How much?" And I expect them to be stupid expensive. Said $100.
Wow.
Said, "Okay, now I need something else for that price." I said, "What else you got for 100?" And at that time, Tyson Nash was still with the Blues. He's like, "You know what? I got a pair of his Nike skates." Okay, throw them in the box, and he was shipping them to me because of where I'm at. So $125 for a pair of Tyson Nash skates and supposed Paul Kariya gloves. Get them home, and it's the old style Easton gloves with the big strings on them still. When
Wow.
some of the gloves had those. So get them home, start looking everybody goes to Getty Images or one of those places looking to see if we can find the matches right away. Found that style, but the way and I wish I had them in front of me right now. Some of the fingers were and the coloring in between them. It wasn't solid. I couldn't find ones that lined up just right. And on one of the cuffs, the Easton in bright yellow was smeared. So and ironically enough, my off-camera assistant brought me the gloves. So this is one of them here, and you kind of see it. The E is all smeared up. So go through a bunch of pictures. I'm like, okay, I know it may just be practice ones, but those are the exact style he wore. So put them on the shelf. They're probably his, but couldn't time anything in specific. So about a year and a half, 2 years later, go to a friend's blues garage sale in St. Louis. They had worked as a locker room attendant, so they'd been given shirts and hats and just that kind of stuff, or giveaway items, whatever. So I go down there and they had a Korea bobblehead. So I'm like, you know what, I'll buy that, bring that home. And because my wife's a big Korea fan as well, bring it home. 3 sides of the box is a picture of the bobblehead from different angles. The 4th side of the box is the picture of him. Like, that looks kind of familiar. Grab the gloves. It's that E with that Easton smear.
The match.
The only picture I found, and I was surprised with all the other ones I looked at, it's the only picture I found that matched it. It lined up perfect.
That's
so
awesome.
don't ever give up on photo matching.
No.
And then it was funny because one of my friends was a Tyson Nash collector, knew I had the skates. Like, oh, I'll buy them. So I sold them at just what I paid. So I got free Korea gloves.
Can't beat that.
Out of the deal. So.
And you kept them. You still have them.
Yep, they are. Oh, they're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I've shared that.
He wasn't there for a very long time. I mean, Korea stuff is desired and tough.
Blues Korea jerseys are stupid expensive. I saw one other pair of Blues gloves come up not long ago, and I think it sold for $800.
Wow.
So
nice get.
I'm happy to have mine here. So just to kind of wrap this piece of discussion up, if you're anybody that's listening to this, feel free to comment on it. What equipment sales have you attended? I used to love to go to the AHL Pura Rivermen that were tied to the Blues before that team went away. That was a fun one because you could find Blues player stuff up there, or the up and coming guys, and pick up at some great deals. So if you've done, or what interesting or weird things you've found, share that with us. I'd love to hear about that. I'll also put Paul Ranks. Like I said, always puts pictures before the San Jose sale. I'll find the link and put it in the comments just so you can see what.
He takes some great pictures of the event.
Oh man,
prices. You can see all the stuff they have and how organized it is, and it's pretty consistent year to year. It seems like they do, like they have a really neat setup and they do a great job with it.
Ours again. Believe me, I'm not knocking the Blues. I just wish it was more consistent.
Sure.
So next week will be a round table. We just got a couple minutes left, but this blew up big and came down Monday. The Blues are being sued by a collector for misrepresenting things like goalie pads and gloves and other stuff. He said he's out $30,000 in his collection. I am talking to a lawyer. They can't join me on the podcast, but they're going to give me some information after they've looked at the legal filing and stuff. So we're going to talk about that, but I'm going to bring a group of us collectors that have done this. You will definitely be involved because you and I both buy from the Blues, and some others to get our take on this, because I think it's going to be a very interesting discussion.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting topic, especially for a lot of us guys that do collect heavy and have larger collections. But even for a casual collector, it always comes down to that saying that we talk about a lot. You got to do your homework. If you're going to be a collector and be vested in a hobby, you have to put your time in. And letters of authenticity are as good as, how much you pay attention to them as much as anything else. It'll be fun talk.
Sure. We've heard the story for years about stuff that's gone out the back doors from trainers Absolutely. Or from the team, or they pump out jerseys for a popular player. There's some talk of that with the Avalanche right now with their Stanley Cup jerseys being sold and more getting popped up. And when this article has gotten shared to some of the other big Game Worn Facebook pages, a lot of people are coming and, oh yeah, we've seen this team do this, and we've seen that team. So I want to have the discussion. again, this isn't just a blues podcast. This is the Dirty Laundry Game Worn Hockey podcast, and this will definitely be Dirty Laundry.
Absolutely.
So, Wade, thank you for
My pleasure. I had a blast.
joining me. It was a fun second episode, and we will talk to you next week. Put all your comments in there and tell me what you think, and we'll see you for episode 3, the round table.
See you later.
See you, buddy.